Welcome along to Betting Weekly Premier League show. You with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. Nigel, brilliant midweek selections, fantastic slate from your good self in particular, and from Jack. Hat is tipped. Ipswich, the star selection in midweek.
Yeah, really good. Good weekend. It was due, wasn't it? It's been an awful season. But, I mean, why on earth, after the best midweek card that I've had for probably 3 years, and I've celebrated to decide to do this at like 8:30 in the morning. I mean, come on, give the boy a chance. I mean, come on. I had a winning week for about 4 years. I've gone to bed at about 3 in the morning, and you got me up so early. I'm doing Instagram and social media for because we win. It's been an absolute nightmare. Anyway, joking aside, it was a good night. And what even made it better was the show we done yesterday, Dan, with the Betting Weekly Live.
Yeah,
I mean,
flying.
The amount when we went on there, we had to pick bets that we didn't give on here, and I think we got 4 anytime golf scorers at nice prices as well. So yeah, it was a good day. So it's brilliant when those days come around, and I bet them, and I made a few quid. I must admit, I did make a few quid last night, and then I woke up this morning and was annoying myself that I didn't make as more than I should have done. It was like one of them nights where you thought you should have got the lot, but I did all right. Yeah, I've done all right, but it was just like one of them nights I thought, you know what, Nigel, you should have got the lot there. You read it perfectly and just wasn't to be. But yeah, it was great to come in now, and it puts the whole show. I mean, it was a good night for me, but obviously Jack kept everything going throughout the season, and it puts the show almost in profit, which is the most important thing.
Well, let's get the P&L on screen, shall we? Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're still in the minus, but only just after brilliant efforts from Jack and from Nigel. And yeah, Jack, look, we talked about Villa a lot, your hot dog cash, your 1 unit cash played as well. But I've got to say, boys, Crystal Palace, come on, we're getting grief off one guy on Twitter after about 10 minutes. It's like, come on. Nigel's tipped to 7. Jack's flying with selections and someone's picked up. So Jack, come on, could do better. What happened with Palace?
Absolutely. I had a really strong word with myself last night for bedtime, and let's try and do better this time. But Nigel called it, didn't he? A few weeks ago, he said he's that off the pace, up the running rail, final furlong. Watch him fly.
I've said it for years, though, Jack. I mean, like, I know we probably push for time, and the time master will be telling us that we've got to be pushed for time. But I've said it for years. When in the middle of the season, I have sort of ups and downs and various different things because I don't really look at the metrics so much. And I think when it gets to these kind of matches now with 8 or 9 games to go, that is where I sort of do all right because I've been down the stretch many times. This isn't my first rodeo. So I know I can see things, and I can see things inside where sides are just sort of going through the motions slightly, and however much they've shown in the season before, a lot of those metrics go out the window at this time of the season. And I think we've got 3 or 4 teams now who might fall in that category as we go down the stretch here. So hopefully we can turn a deficit into a positive for the show. I'm sure we will on the show. Whether I can do it myself personally, that's what my aim is, to make sure we make profit. But yeah, I always, we get Aston Villa like this time last year is a big price. This one here, final day of the season last year where Man City played Chelsea, I think it was the season before. We got a lot of money on those kind of matches, and that's where I sort of excel in. So hopefully we'll be all right going down the stretch.
As much as we love stats and metrics and using them to our advantage throughout the season, say there's one thing you can't research, you can't get, and that's an eye. And that's a feeling for teams and how they go, and as I said, the dynamics going into parts of the season. So that's something that is only in the individual. So we've got the most of that, and we'll kick on now.
Tag us in. Tell us what you're betting over the course of this Premier League weekend at Because We Win is our Twitter handle. You can find us on Instagram as well. We've got our Betting Weekly Insider newsletter, of course, bettingweeklystudios.com. If you've not yet signed up, please do so. We've got some selections coming your way this week. Not done mine yet, actually, so I'll have to do it after the show's been recorded. Sorry, Paul. Let's start with the early game on Saturday, shall we hear? Everton against Arsenal, which is 7:30 and Saturday. Everton are plus 480, Arsenal are minus 143. Nigel, good news for Arsenal in midweek. Saka was back, scored effectively what was the winner, but the bad news, Gabriel, I think probably out. I don't know for sure. Calafiori missed him midweek, so was White, and Timber limped off as well. They've got Real Madrid, of course, coming up at the Emirates. So, you win with one player coming back, suddenly attacking players coming back. Now they're losing defenders. How do you see their game at Goodison on Saturday morning?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of one step forward and two steps back, isn't it, for Arsenal? Obviously, Saka comes back and then they get the injuries. It's been the story of their season so far. Whenever they got a little bit of form, they suddenly have 3 or 4 injury crises. And for Arsenal, it couldn't have come at a worse time, obviously, with this huge match in midweek against Real Madrid. And I think that's obviously in the thought process of Mikel Arteta coming into this match. What does he do? He can't risk Saka. I just can't see how he can possibly risk Saka from the start. I think he's got to come off the bench, maybe play 20 minutes or so. But also, I just think to myself, what is his thought mindset? He knows the title's over. They're going to get into the Champions League. Do they forsake their league for this match in particular and go all out for the Real Madrid match? And I think that possibly could be the case here. I was looking at Everton on the money line at plus 460, and I thought that was potentially a very, very big price. But the amount of draws they've had in recent weeks does put me off here. I wouldn't put anybody off the draw here at plus 245. And I was the first thing I wanted to do was go to under 2.5 goals, but that is like quite low at minus 155, especially in the season that we've had so far. If you look at Arsenal, in the Premier League in their last 6 matches, 5 of them have gone under 2.5 goals. And most of their road matches recently have been under 2.5 goals in the Premier League as well. So the reverse fixture was a 0-0 draw. And I just think the timing here for David Moyes is such that he'll fancy his chances here. It would be the last time that Arsenal go to Goodison Park, the last real big game at Goodison Park. They'll want to go out on a high. This is a tricky match for Arsenal at a place where they've struggled in the past before. The 0-0, as I said, earlier in the season, the last 2 seasons have been 1-0 either way, 1-0 win for Everton, 1-0 win for Arsenal. I think under 2.5 goals is the bet here, but minus 155 is the line that I wouldn't want to play. But I'm trying to, I'd be a fader of Arsenal at minus 143. I think I'd take them on the double chance market. I think I'd take Everton plus a half, plus three quarters of a goal, because I just don't think he's going to prioritise this match. I think he just goes there, maybe give a lot of fringe players an opportunity and rest whatever team he has for the midweek clash, which is huge against Real Madrid. So I'm taking on Arsenal here, but I think the logic, the most sensible play would be under 2.5 goals, but put it in a parlay.
Double chance, incidentally. Everton and ties is plus 112. It's the half goal Asian, isn't it? Jack, what do you think in this one? You're fading Arsenal here, man. I don't think there's going to be a lot of traffic at minus 143 for them to win. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I agree with Nigel as far as my first instinct was to try and get the under 2.5 goals on side. But I have got a 1-unit play on a half-time tie here. I've kind of drilled more into the detail of it, and the numbers do stack up to the way I think the game's going to pan out. I think there's a couple of extra factors on this as well, in the fact that a quick turnaround, obviously, from these teams playing in midweek. They've got the early kick-off, sometimes in the UK, where we have that early lunchtime kick-off, a 12:30 kick-off on a Saturday local time. That can be a little bit of a slow burner. It's an unusual start for these players, and their routines get slightly put out of place a little bit. As we've mentioned, with Arsenal's problems in how they go about this game ahead of the big game coming up, and we already know that they're struggling in forward areas, with Moreno being a false forward as such. And we know that Everton have had problems and have continued to have problems with strikers and scoring goals as well. So it lends itself to a low scorer. And the fact that both these sides tend to have very high amounts of half times going in at level, the reasons I've played it. So 8 of 15 Everton home games is the most in the Premier League this season. 8 of 15 Arsenal away games is the second highest in the Premier League this season. And as Nigel said, it was 0-0 in the reverse. Last season, this was 0-0 at half time as well. So that's the way I'm going. I was tempted to go with 0-0 at half-time, hoping it would be a hot dog price, but it wasn't quite. So I've stripped it back to a 1-unit play at plus 114 half-time tie.
And that is a 1-unit play from Jack as well. We should point out for that early game on Saturday, Everton against Arsenal. Let's get to West Ham Bournemouth next. This is Saturday at 10 a.m. We've got Nigel's hot dog here. West Ham at plus 220, Bournemouth plus 116, the draw plus 255 here. And surely, Nigel, we are staying on the Bournemouth fade train here. 0 wins from 7 in 90 minutes. And they're favourites to win this game. First time they've ever been favourites to win away at West Ham. And we've got to fade them. How are we fading them? What's the hot dog?
The hot dog is betting West Ham on the money line at plus 220. I think it's a big price.
It's a massive price.
I think Bournemouth are done. I really do. I think their season's over. I think they've had a brilliant campaign and a manager who's got a big future in the Premier League. destined for bigger and better things. A very small squad, few key injuries. I mean, Cliver was a key miss in midweek against Ipswich. He's a doubt. It's a 50-50 call whether he plays or if he doesn't play. If he doesn't play, I think this is a huge doubt for him. West Ham haven't been great in recent weeks. You could argue both of these two seasons are done for these two players, these two teams, but both of them come in this match in completely different mindset. Bournemouth have virtually relied on all their players to play every minute to get them to within touching distance of European football and just fallen short. The FA Cup second half against Manchester City in that quarter-final, we've mentioned before the Ipswich game, they looked leg-weary, they looked done. They look finished to me, and it just looked like a side that are destined for the season to end. It's been brilliant for them, and their fans have had an unbelievable journey this year with some huge wins against some of the top teams, but it's just gone a little bit too far for them. On the flip side to West Ham, they've had a very poor season. The fans aren't happy, but this is the first time for a very, very long time, probably since Potter's been in charge. He's got a virtually full squad to choose from. First time since the start of the season. I think they've only got 2 players out missing now, and that injury list was about 10 at one stage. They should have got a draw against Wolves in midweek. They were much the better side in the second half. They hit the bar. Soucek missed an absolute sitter. They should have got at least a point from that one. And for me, I just think the timing is absolutely perfect to play a faltering Bournemouth side. West Ham have got Fulham back, who played a part in the match as well in midweek. And like I say, the two mindsets of the two managers, Aurelio is sitting there thinking himself, right, okay, I've had a brilliant season, but I've got to get another 90 minutes out of these boys. I've got to get 7 or 8 games out of them. They must be deflated after the Man City match, and then going into that home defeat against Ipswich, which would be disastrous for them. And now they travel to a West Ham side that we know are inconsistent, but it's all on the price. I don't understand why West Ham are plus 220 on the money line to win this, and Bournemouth are plus 116. And I think it's all on the form that we saw earlier part of the year. That, again, going back to the metrics, how they performed, this now after those last 2 matches, this could be a very, very different Bournemouth side, and we could suddenly be having a real big rebase on Bournemouth going into the final few matches of the season. I think there's 2 or 3 teams in the Premier League that are pretty much done for the season, and the top of that list is Bournemouth. They've gone so close to reaching Wembley, but I think it'll be the first time they went to the new Wembley. I think it might be the first time they've gone to Wembley. So close to doing that, but they've just fallen short, and I think the consequences are going to be in the next 3 or 4 matches for them. So West Ham plus 220 is my hot dog on the continuation of the fade of Bournemouth.
Jack, you still believe they've got a puncher's chance of at least scoring in this one? You've picked out a player to follow.
I have, yeah. I'm of the opinion as well that say these 2 sides really that you don't want playing each other. They're the ones that you are on the list for teams to fade. I agree with that. I've said that pre-season is going to be massive for West Ham. Bournemouth, I said they could well end up if you kind of looked at the start of the season and you go, right, where do you expect Bournemouth to go? And without that middle part where we've seen them do so well, get to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, so on and so forth, come the end of the season, if you open your eyes and went, yeah, that's pretty much where I expect them to be, they could end up 13th, 14th in the table. And it's sort of been a real damp squib to end. So, yeah, the one player I've gone for has been out for a while, so he's come back fresh, and it sort of seems to have made the difference. That's Evan Nielsen, to score at any time, back from his injury, scored in 4 of his 5 starts since returning. Possibly without Cliver, he's kind of become their main man. Semenyo's really form has dipped, so they've been relying on Evan Nielsen to get on the score sheet. So I put him forward there at odds of plus 215 to score.
Just a lean there for Jack in that one. Let's get to Palace Brighton, which is a little bit of a grudge match, as we know. Saturday, 10 a.m. Palace are favourites at plus 145 here. Brighton plus 185. Palace favourites. Jack, before, even despite the fact that they drew with Southampton in midweek, I mean, how are we tackling this one here? Brighton's first loss in 90 minutes since early Feb in midweek. Do we take them to bounce back here? Plus 185 is that tempting? Palace are favourites against Brighton for the first time since the 18-19 season. What do we think?
I find it really hard to call the winner of this one. As you say, no love lost, and they tend to tie a lot between these two over the course of the last few seasons, although that's changed in the most recent fixtures. And both, in some kind of way, need a bounce back. Although Palace didn't lose, of course, we were heavily on them to win. We expected them to do that at Southampton, and going to Southampton and not winning feels a bit like a loss for any other club, really, to be fair. So I'm not quite sure on the outcome. How do they respond? Palace haven't been great at home either. They have won the last two, but only one win in 8 prior to that. So I've just gone down the goals route in this one. The last two ended 4-1 and the most recent fixture 3-1. Both teams are scoring 8 of the last 9 meetings between the two sides as well. This particular bet has cashed in 6 of the last 8 Crystal Palace home games, 7 of the last 11 Brighton on the road. So, yeah, both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. I put it together to get to a price because you can't play them individually, in my opinion. And that's that's, where are we? Minus 129 as a lean.
Just as a lean. Both teams score, yes, and over 2.5 goals. A little bit of a mini parlay. I just think that both these teams might be running out of steam a little bit. Palace in particular. I mean, it's a massive recency bias because I'm talking about that Saints game, Nigel. How do you see it?
Well, Palace have got a huge FA Cup semi-final to come up, so they can't really run out of steam yet. Brighton, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about them again as a team to get in the FA Cup semi-finals, with a team potentially pushing to the Champions League. A 3-0 home defeat by Aston Villa and a FA Cup penalty shootout against Nottingham Forest has changed the whole way that they're thinking down at the Amex. I think this is a really, really difficult one to call. I really do. They're both looking for a bounce back. Obviously, after that really disappointing performance by Brighton, Villa are excellent counter-attacking football at its best, and Palace dropping points, the most heavily bet team in midweek to win at Southampton, and they couldn't get the job done with a 1-1 draw. They should have won it though. They should have won the match. I'm edging towards Palace just because I think there is something special going on down there. And I think that Bournemouth, again, may fall into that category of the Brighton might fall in that category of the Bournemouth is. That a season that promised so much may just falter. I think you're better off being a team that has got momentum at the end moving up than a team that's used everything going forward who suddenly just are going down. And I've got a feeling that Brighton, Fulham, Brentford and Bournemouth, those sort of 4 sides that have been really brilliant this season and could have broken in, I think they may go down, and the teams like the West Hams, Evertons and Crystal Palace, who just started slowly, could be the ones who end the season higher. So it all goes back to the norm, doesn't it? All these, at the start of the season, nobody said between these sort of sides there'd be many points between them, and then by the end of the season there might not be at all. I'm edging towards Palace on the money line at plus 145, but really I think this is a very, very tricky match to call, so no opinion for me.
Let's get to Ipswich Wolves, shall we? Once again, Saturday, 10 a.m. Mighty Ipswich. Do we go in again here? We have got 3 units on this game from the boys. If they win and beat Wolves, they're 6 points behind them. If they lose, obviously, they'll be 12 points behind. So my O-level maths tell me that this is a 6-pointer. What are we playing here, Jack? You've got your 2-unit play, so you can go first for this one.
Okay, it's over 2.5 goals at minus 103, and you've kind of dressed it up perfectly. It's a case that there's so much riding on this game now. Ipswich have given themselves a chance. It looked like it's been a bizarre turnaround, hasn't it? It looked like Wolves had kind of gone over the hills and far away. They'd gone 12 points clear of Ipswich. It looked like that was going to be enough. If Ipswich had lost that Bournemouth game, then that's done. That's game over. But to have won it and done it in a decent manner, they can go here and the crowd are going to be up for it. They've got that possibility, that hope of survival again. And I say it's a do-or-die fixture. So all in it. And I think Kieran McKenna has certainly kind of identified the fact that they've got to go and attack these final games. They've got to go and win them. You can see it with the team selection is slightly tweaked. Broadhead come in, obviously got the opening goal yesterday as well. They've got decent forward players. They have got goals in the side. The likes of Broadhead I mentioned. You've got Philogene, you've got Hutchison as well, and of course Delap, who's been linked with like a £40 million move to Manchester United in the coming summer. We'll have to see how that one pans out, but he's obviously catching the eye at the moment, breaking into the England side. We've talked about him a fair bit, but again, he got on the score sheet as well, which is vital for them, having a little bit of a drought ahead of that game. So one thing is, though, they can't keep clean sheets. Only 2 all season, and obviously only one of those came at home. And Wolves are in a similar boat. They've only kept 2 clean sheets away from home. Cunha, that extra 1-game ban, how vital could that be come the end of the season? He's should have been available for this game, but because of the nature of the sending off, he's been given an extra game, and it's this one, arguably currently their biggest game of the season. So they have got Strand Larsen, who's stepped up to the plate over the last couple of games, managed to score all their 3 goals in those 2 back-to-back wins. So they'll come here with confidence as well. And I think for them, the main thing here is they'll know that they go and beat Ipswich at Portman Road. That's pretty much job done. That 12-point gap will be back again, and you can't see Ipswich recovering that over the stretch. So vital for both sides to go and win it. And for that reason, I think they're both going to come out swinging. So over 2.5 goals. Ipswich, 7 of the last 9, including the last 4 at home. Wolves, 12 of the last 13 away games as well. Number 1 in the league for over 2.5 goals. 21 of 30 across all venues. That's 70% of games and 80% of their away games. So that, for me, over 2.5 goals is the play.
All the numbers add up to a value play at -103. 2-unit play for Jack. Nigel, you're pressing up with Ipswich on the money line or going elsewhere for your 1U?
Yeah, I think Ipswich have got a great chance here to beat Wolves. I mean, just to give you some information, I said you didn't have the 2U pick wins the 7-1 shot. I'm going to do the open top bust like the Newcastle celebrations. We're going from Biggin Hill Airport on Saturday. We're stopping off at Bromley and we're ending up at Orpington Town Hall if you want to come along. And I'll be throwing hot dogs to all the crowd. Anyone who wants to see. Hot dogs will be thrown to everyone, courtesy of our friends at hotdogs.co.uk. Anyway, we're back to this match. I think this is this match. I'm going to have a load of it. You know, the other thing I was really annoyed myself about. Why I was really annoyed myself. I made a really good case for Ipswich, obviously, and I fancied it at 7 times. I didn't realise they played Wolves this weekend. If I had known they played Wolves this weekend, I didn't look at the fixtures. If I had known they got to play Wolves this weekend, I would have probably got even stronger. And that was the thing that really annoyed me this morning. Anyway, the market hasn't really changed much, given them this is a massive win for Ipswich. I'd argue that this is a picker match. On the money line, Ipswich are plus 180 and Wolves are plus 150. And as we're actually recording this, Ipswich have gone out to plus 188, which I think is a little bit of a tempting price here. I would go for the Ipswich draw, no bet, though, at minus 103, because Wolves will be very, very happy with a draw here. It's a must-win match for Ipswich. It's a must-not-lose match for Wolves. And that is the problem with the over 2.5 goals market, that Wolves might come here to try to get a draw and frustrate, but I don't think they're capable of doing that. Both teams have scored in 9 of the last 10 Ipswich matches. Ipswich scored in 9 of the last 10 matches. Wolves have scored in 10 of their last 11 matches. Both teams to score here is minus 137. That was going to be my bait, but I've gone with Jack on the over 2.5 goals. I think minus 103 is a big, big price. All the stats here, and going back through years and years and years, when you get these kind of matches, they used to be like always 1-0, dour kind of nervy affairs. The last few seasons, they've been gun-ho, they attack. And I think this will open up. And I don't see any reason why McKenna will not play straight away from the front foot. And I think there's goals in this match. Over 1.5 goals. I was looking at the goal scorers. Villagine is not my lover this week. I'm going to go for Delap at plus 165. I think Delap is a big, big price at plus 165. But, I'm agreeing with Jack, over 2.5 goals. But there was a lot of Delap anytime goal score was definitely going to be a hot dog if it was 2-1 or bigger. I liked Ipswich on the draw, no bet. I like both teams to score, and I like over 2.5 goals. And I've gone for over 2.5 goals as my 1U pick. So we've got 3 points. Not only does the season, for these two sides, the season could determine whether we have a winning or losing season on this match. Is a big, big game for us here because we win.
Which is more important.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't we have 3 units on Palace in midweek as well? Anyway, let's move on. Yeah,
but not the same market. Not the same market.
Not the same market. That's true. Saturday, 12:45 Eastern is Villa against Forest here. Villa are the favourites plus 102. I thought they might be a little bit bigger. I'm not quite sure if they're tempting at that price. Forest plus 255. I thought Forest were massively lucky against Man United. United outgunned them, shots on target, XG, the lot, but Villa have got to play PSG away on Wednesday, of course. So that sort of tempers it for me. What have we got here, boys? We've got Jack's hot dog, in fact, here. It is a goal scorer. Jack, what's your hot dog play?
Yeah, I feel this is a little bit of a steal, isn't it, really, to be fair? Borrowed one here off Nigel. I've got my Marcus Rashford to score, at plus 255. There was another bet that I really, really liked for this, but unusually I found it quite hard to find a hot dog this week. Obviously, we need it to be plus 200 or bigger, and there was a few I liked just under that mark. So I've moved the bet I did have, which was going to be an official play, either 1 unit or 2 unit, and that's now going to be exclusively in the newsletter, which will be the Insider, which will be landing at the weekend.
Cheeky.
So make sure you subscribe to that. It's free, and there we have it. So there you'll find what the play was going to be. But I've gone with Rashford.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I know my place. The show knows its place. We're behind the newsletter in the rankings. Go on.
It's a hot dog play. It's a hot dog play. So I feel like Villa have been just so impressive at this moment. And of course, Rashford has been moved centrally, scored in both the last 2 games, got his first 2 goals for the club in the FA Cup at the weekend, and he's followed it up. But Emery said he's playing really well, can't ask for anything more from him, so he's going to keep his place in that area of the pitch, and duly obliged by scoring the opening goal in that 3-0 win in midweek. So now against the Forest side, which you look at it and you kind of think they're generally pretty tight, that tends to be their home form. Their last few games on the road have been pretty wild, to be fair. When you break down those last 4 games they've had a 4-2 win, a 4-3 defeat, a 2-1 defeat, and a 5-0 defeat. So there's been plenty of goals scored against them on the road. And so I think Villa, with this attack at the moment, is got to be one of the best in the Premier League. They've got so much ability to rotate, and the movement they've got up top as well. And I've talked about those Forest centre-backs before being kind of old school, being brilliant. They love a battle. I don't think they're going to be loved being pulled around so much by the pace of Rashford, or Watkins comes on, Morgan, Rodgers. You can run through several players there. Asensio as well. Malen got that goal that can cause lots and lots of problems. But I say Rashford is the main man with his movement, with his pace, and with the goals that he scored at the moment, plus 255. Yes, a massive game for Villa coming up in midweek, but they're generally normally pretty strong prior to those European games. It's after them. And of course, they've still got the business to take care of. A win here will keep them massively in the race to qualify for the Champions League next season, and this will be their best route to do that, in my opinion. So for me, Rashford, the main man at this moment in time against a Forest side. And the other thing is, if they do move him to the left, Aina, who's been playing really well for Forest, has picked up an injury, so they might well have a rotation in that area as well. So that area of the pitch which she plays in looks like it's going to be opening up a little bit for Villa, so I'm going to take him here at plus 255 to score.
That's the hot dog. Has he nicked your lean, Nigel, in this one? What do you think?
No. I wasn't gonna go with Rashford. I mean, it's a great bet. I think he's, with all the reasons we've said over the years, when he's on fire, he's unstoppable. I think he's a talent. I still think that he's got a future in England, and he's happy, and he scores goals. Still don't know what his best position is. I think his best position is centre forward. But anyway, this could be the FA Cup final, couldn't it? Aston Villa against Nottingham Forest. It could be. Villa have won the last 6 in all competitions, and I was really tempted to put Villa in on the money line, but that PSG match is just in my mind. I'm worried about that, because this is, they're playing a team that the Champions League favourites. If they were playing someone lesser, then I would accept it. And they have got a brilliant record before Champions League matches, but this is a quarter final against Paris Saint-Germain, tournament favourites. So I'm just a little bit concerned about that. The market expects goals, and I'm not so sure. I'm swimming against the tide on the goals here. Forest, it's 5 of the last 6 matches. Forest have been under 2.5 goals. As Doug Jack said, a lot of them have been at home. But they are so strong defensively, and Chris Wood could be out again. I mean, there was talk he may return, but he's still a doubt. But so Forest without their main striker, they didn't score without him against Manchester. They scored one without him, against Manchester United on the counter attack. But I think in a match like this, you need your best players, and obviously the Forest have. I think if they think to themselves, we get a draw here.
Yeah, they'll take a draw. They'll
be delighted with a draw, and then they'll just, and Villa, and that'll be the game plan. So I was leaning towards under 2.5 goals at plus 107, just because of the state, not for any statistical basis, not for the fact that what we've seen from Villa and Nottingham Forest this season, but just the fact that where the fixture list is and where these two sides are positioned in the Premier League table. So, I was looking at Villa on the money line, but I just think that Paris Saint-Germain match is such a bet that just a match that worries me.
Yeah, I think Villa are too short. I think unders is a brilliant bet. Plus money as well at the minute, plus 107. Villa plus 450, top 5 incidentally, 1,600 top 4. Villa were 9-1 top 5 prior to that Brighton win. Let's rattle through some Sunday morning games here. Just want to get some quick leans, because we've got Spurs, Southampton and Brentford, Chelsea. They both play tonight. Obviously, we're recording Thursday morning here. We'll get Nigel's thoughts on Spurs, Southampton first. Spurs are minus 305 They have been bet a little bit. Saints 7-1 after that good draw against Paris. But again, Spurs have got that Eintracht Frankfurt game on the horizon. Nigel, gives you brief thoughts on this one.
My brief thoughts here are you've got to be a lunatic to back Tottenham at minus 305. And I think you can't trust any of them on the money line. I just can't. So you've got to look for goals. And I think the way that Tottenham are playing at the moment, they're very different from the Tottenham we saw at the start of the season. They're a manager. The manager's under pressure. He's going all out to win the Europa League. I think if they get, the priority is Europa League game on Thursday. The priority isn't this match against Southampton. I don't see him risking any players that he wants to play in that match. I think he play it very cautious. I can see Tottenham winning, going 1 or 2-0 up, and then making lots and lots of changes. So for that reason, I like under 3.5 goals at minus 120. 3.5 goals. This isn't the Tottenham that we've seen at the start of the season. I know they won 5-0 in the return, but again, with that fixtures and with that Eintracht Frankfurt match, which is huge, it's Tottenham season. 1-0 is good enough for Tottenham, so under 3.5 goals, minus 120.
Jack, what do you like?
Not a lot. We'll have a better read on Spurs, how they go about it. Obviously, we've got a big game against Chelsea after we've recorded this, so we'll kind of get a bit of an idea on Ange's mindset with that one. But I've just gone with a bit of a form horse here. I've gone with Son, Heung-min Son to score. He loves playing against Southampton. His record is phenomenal. He scored more goals against Southampton than any other Premier League side. He's got a hat-trick, and he's got 11 goals, 7 assists in 16 appearances against the Saints, who have conceded 71 goals in 30 games this season, an average of 2.4 per game. But, as far as they're concerned, there's probably no better place to go to try and break that record or avoid breaking that record of the lowest point scorer than going to Tottenham, is there? But, I'll go with Son as a tentative pick in this one at plus 112 to score.
And same rules apply, really, Nigel, to the Brentford-Chelsea game. Although Chelsea at plus 114, I couldn't possibly back them at that price to beat Brentford. They're still minus money to get, top 4, top 5 Chelsea at the minute here. Brentford a little bit unlucky, maybe, if you looked at the XG stats against Newcastle in midweek. This is another a tricky one, a trappy one with Chelsea playing tonight, and of course involved in Conference League action next midweek. Any thoughts here?
Well, I think the Conference League is something that doesn't really affect Chelsea. I mean, I think their squad enough's big enough to get through that tie. It's all about getting into the Champions League spots in the Premier League. I was actually quite tempted by Chelsea at plus 114, actually. I think it all depends on how Jackson and Palmer team up tonight. If they put on a show and Palmer, and he can get Palmer going for the final. I know he's had an injury, but I don't know if he plays, which we don't know yet this evening, recorded before this evening, and Jackson and Palmer take to the pitch here and are in form, I think they might be too strong for a Brentford side who, again, could fall in that category of not much to play for. And the team that started off so well at home, scoring goals, an unbelievable record at home, they haven't won at home in 8 matches, which is quite staggering, really. So Chelsea, I expect to make the short trip and probably win this. But again, plus 114, I probably wouldn't have bet it without seeing the team news tonight with Jackson and Palmer.
Jack, briefly on this one.
Exactly the same thoughts. Yeah, Jackson and Palmer, crucial for Chelsea tonight. See how they play. If they're looking a little bit back towards their best, you expect money to come for Chelsea as a result of that. See how the performance goes tonight. Before that, without knowing what's going to happen there, I've actually put up Brentford tie-no bet on that. They've got a decent record apart from last time out against Chelsea, where Chelsea beat them at Stamford Bridge this season. But prior to that, so they've won 3 and tied 2 of the previous 5 meetings. So again, a tentative play, especially with Chelsea playing after we recorded this.
Fulham versus Liverpool is another Sunday early game here at 9. Fulham plus 325. Liverpool minus 120 here. Nigel, Liverpool just about scrambled beyond Everton in midweek. Probably deserved it, but we saw Curtis Jones playing at right back, I think, didn't we? It's going to be an interesting one. I think Fulham, and I take your point about Fulham maybe sort of fading, I think Fulham at a massive price here at plus 325.
You think so? You think so?
Yeah, look, I'm going to bet them. I'm going to bet Fulham.
I don't think you're going to get any value, Dan. You're not getting any value because
I think so.
I take one out of value. I mean, if Liverpool played this 3 weeks ago, before losing in the Champions League and before losing in the match in the how did they lose the Carabao Cup final? I think Liverpool would be going into this match about minus 220. I think they'll be about -220. The market has had a massive rebase on Liverpool. Massive. I mean, they were rated the top team in Europe. They're probably now rated about 6th or 7th team in Europe. There's a huge. I don't think Liverpool, if Arsenal can keep their players fit, Arsenal will probably be rated higher than Liverpool on the current teams going in the Premier League. But Liverpool, I think Liverpool may be a price that the big bettors might be attracted in at -120. I wouldn't bet them, but I think Fulham at +325 isn't any value. I wanted to get with Fulham. I wanted to get with Fulham +1.5 or +1 or something like that, but that price you can't get with them. It's a half a ball game or 0.75 game with a very heavy favourite for Fulham. So Liverpool won ugly again at the weekend, but that's what they've done all season. Fulham's last 2 matches have been very disappointing. The defeat against Crystal Palace at home was really disappointing. They played well against Arsenal, but they left it late to get the goal. There is obviously a connection. Marco Silva was manager at Everton, so he's played in Merseyside, managing Merseyside derbies before. But I think there's goals in this match. I think that both teams will score. Yes, it's -143. 2-2 early in the season. They played 4 times last year in all the domestic competitions, and every single one both teams scored as a yes. So -143. But I do think Liverpool here, there's a huge rebase in Liverpool at the moment, and -120. 4 weeks ago, we'd be snapping up that -120 as though it was the best bet in the world. But at the moment, nobody can touch them. Even though they're 26 matches unbeaten, it's crazy in the Premier League.
I take your point. I take your point, and I think you're right. I think Liverpool will be shorter and Fulham will be bigger come kickoff.
I don't think they will. I just think that the market now.
Liverpool will be better because Liverpool will be better. That 120, that -120 is short.
Liverpool have won the league. They know they can ease up. So the market knows that you're going to get Liverpool beat going down the stretch. Wherever it comes at Fulham, where it comes to Liverpool, are going to get beat at some stage because they've eased up. The market knows that Liverpool have huge problems off the pitch in trying to get the contracts for the 3 players. They know Trent's going to be going. They know Salah and Van Dijk are under pressure. And they know their form has dropped in the last 2 or 3 games. So there's a huge rebase on Liverpool. It's whether you look at the early part of the season and think -120 is a bet, or look at this current version of Liverpool. And I think this current version of Liverpool is beatable, but not at +325.
Fulham have only been bigger this season at home against Arsenal. They drew in that game. Jack, what you got for us?
Yeah, I've gone with a Liverpool angle, but I've gone with over 1.5 Liverpool goals at -129. So Fulham not been great at home, and I said they were the one side, or one of the sides I'd put a circle around to say, are they gone? Have they got anything else to play for the season? They're down in 9th now. They're in a very, very similar position to Bournemouth. The fact they got knocked out of the cup at the same time, they've now slid down the league together as well. How far they're going to go, not so certain. But again, obviously it's a tough game. When you look at the basic current form, they've lost 3 of their last 4. And they've conceded in all bar 2 home games this season against our favourite outliers, Southampton and Tottenham. On that one, 2 or more goals conceded against Palace, Ipswich, Bournemouth in the last 6. Let in 4 against Wolves as well in November. Liverpool score goals, especially away from home. They've scored 2 or more in 13 of their 15 road trips this season, which is the most in the Premier League. They still have got those forward players, the likes of Jota, Diaz, Salah, of course, who's not scored a goal for a couple of weeks, so he's got to be due one. He's still got his personal ambitions to achieve and make sure he gets that golden boot. And so they have scored 2 or more in each of the last 5, and that included trips to City and Villa as well. So I'm going with them over 1.5 goals, team goals at -129.
Big game on the TV, at least, is the Manchester derby. It's 11:30 on Sunday. United against City. United +240, City +108. Nigel's been in such good form that he's on same game parlay duty, the bet that he loves. So
I love it.
Big expectations here. I think United could be a price here at 240. I change my mind week to week with City. Sometimes I think they're back, then I think they're not. Deserved winners against Leicester, of course, in midweek. But United have had 11 XG in the last 4 home games, including fixtures against Arsenal and Sociedad. I think United are big at 240. Nigel's on same game parlay duty. Just give us your thoughts on the game first, Nigel, and then rattle through your SGP.
My thoughts on the game is probably going to be that it's the most uninspiring Manchester derby since Manchester City become the noisy neighbours. I don't really have any interest in this at all. I mean, the problem with Manchester United is their goal scoring. They can't put the ball in the back of net, as you just highlight there with the XG. Xerxes and Højlund, I mean, that front partnership, is your main strikers. I don't think they'd get into Ipswich side. I think Delap would be ahead of both of them. I mean, it's shocking for a team like Manchester United. Where would they be without the goals of Bruno Fernandes? They'd be in serious trouble. We know all season long that we've spoken about that they had problems scoring goals, particularly in the first half, and they had problems scoring goals all over the pitch. I mean, Harry Maguire is playing as an out striker for them at the moment. Shows you there's the problems for them. Man City on the flip side. I mean, I just think that Man City performance the other day was they had 86% of the possession and didn't have a shot. I think they had one shot on target in the second half. They were 2-0 up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Through. Absolutely, they got the job done, and that was it. The Man City in the past would have gone 4, 5, 6, 7. They've got no Højlund. They've got no Haaland. Foden's completely lost form. Grealish has come in and scored. De Bruyne looks like he's finally run out of legs over being one of the Premier League greats for years and years. They're in complete transition at the moment. The team that went out at the weekend, at the midweek, was a side that, it looks like the future of Manchester City, probably with a couple of new sides, obviously, put Haaland into that side. But I think this is uninspiring, and I think for that reason, I've got to be on the under 2.5 goals. So my same game parlay is sort of based around under 2.5 goals, and under 2.5 goals is plus 104 here. It's under 2.5 goals in the match. I'm going to go for Fernandes to have a shot on target. You've got to have him to have a shot on target because he has a shot on target pretty much every single match, and he's the main man for Manchester United. And Mamouche, who got me, we forgot about the 2U pick with the excitement of the hot dog, with the 2U pick, one with Mamouche scoring at any time. And I put Mamouche to have a shot on target as well, leading the line in Haaland's absence. He was very fortunate to score the goal. Terrible mistake from the Leicester goalkeeper. But I think Mamouche will have a shot on target.
That could be on in this game. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to go for under 2.5 goals. Fernandes shot on target. Mamouche shot on target. It's 6-1 with Bet Rivers. I think it's a nice little 10-game parlay.
The shot on target players there, Bruno and Mamouche look nailed on. Jack, you're a Bruno fan as well for this one.
I am indeed. Yeah, I also think unders is the play as well. Again, it's a tough one to call. Our City back, they're showing sort of signs, but again, not massively inspiring. And Manchester United kind of fair amounts of shoots recovery until that final third, and it falls apart unless, as you say, Bruno Fernandes is involved. So he's been there constant, and I'm going with him to score or assist in this one at plus 143. Top scorer, 8 goals in the league. He's also provided 9 assists as well. 16 goals and 15 assists across all competitions this season, which is a sensational return for him as he's been kind of moved around in different positions as well. He's had a goal or assist in 8 of his last 12 games as well. Scored in a reverse fixture this season and assisted in 2 of the 3 meetings last season. Of course, they met in the FA Cup final. So plenty to like in recent form and current form this season for Bruno. And he's definitely a homer player. I went through the stats last few weeks ago. He really does lift his game when he's playing at Old Trafford, and even more so when he's going to be playing against, as Nigel said, the noisy neighbours.
That's the Manchester derby for you on Sunday. Monday Night Football, Leicester against Newcastle, 3 p.m. on Monday afternoon. Eastern, Leicester a plus 540, Newcastle a minus 205. We've got Nigel's 2-unit play coming your way. Newcastle cost me money in midweek when I bet Brentford on the money line. But is this the game to fade them? The game after, so to speak. But we are talking about Leicester here, Nigel. This is the problem. They are absolutely shocking. 670 minutes without scoring here. What's your 2-unit player? Are we fading Newcastle again? Are we getting all the Geordies back on side? Are we going to get swinging viewers in Newcastle?
You were out of order to me, making me turn all my friends up in the northeast turning against me. I've had text messages. I had death threats from Anton Deck. Tam Fender has reached out on Twitter and said, "Do not come to anywhere near my concerts." Chris Dobie, the darts player, said, "Do not come to the Premier League." Dear, you've upset all my showbiz pals. Anyway, You'll be pleased to know, Newcastle fans, I'm with you. Away you lads, pocket of time and all that. But let me tell you something. I'm going to go for a little bet here, which I think is a big price. I mean, they're minus 205 Newcastle. Leicester, Man City just kept the ball and Leicester did absolutely nothing in the second half. There is nothing going on in this football club whatsoever. They are on a downward spiral at a rate of knots that you cannot believe. They are going to open. They're going to have apparently they're going to have my bus after me when they score a goal, let alone when they win a match. Their successive 9 defeats, in 8 of them they failed to score. So they've lost to nil in 8 matches. And Newcastle here beat them 4-0 in the return leg when Leicester was slightly better than what they're currently showing. And they've got 4 goals inside 60 minutes. In a similar kind of sort of form guide to Leicester, Newcastle went to Ipswich earlier in the season and beat them 4-0 on their home turf as well. So the bet for me is Newcastle to win to 0 at plus 160. I think it's a bet that just keeps winning whether you're playing Leicester, and Bet Rivers haven't adjusted their price so much. I mean, they're minus 205 on the money line. I expect Newcastle to be bet because I believe that people will just realise that Leicester have finished. They've got so many problems off the pitch as well. Jamie Vardy's, they're reliant as we keep saying every week. He just hasn't got the legs anymore. And Newcastle have a striker that is trying to make his claim. He's got to get a few more goals, but I think he's hungry. He scored in midweek, Isaac, and I can see him getting a couple here as well. So Newcastle to win to 0. And the only place that I will never return is Rotterdam. But Newcastle, I'll be there. I'll be there, and I'm my good friends out there. And I never said anything bad. I thought that their partying was a bit too much, and I thought they might be a fade. But we still got the money of Mbeumo. We still got the money with both teams to score. We never said that Newcastle were going to lose. I just thought they were a bad price given what happened, and I thought the celebrations need to stop. But I guarantee you, if you're still celebrating next week and they win to 0, I'll be up there joining with you. I'm going to tell you, I'm main. Let's get ready to rumble.
I had to check the price in this. I thought Nigel had done a hold in here, but Newcastle to win to 0 is plus 160. It's a massive price. I just thought it might. It's absolutely.
Holden's done it again. He's put down a price on the under 2.5 goals in it for the newsletter in one of his matches, and it's totally wrong for what it is.
Plus 1,000,
something like that.
Jack, what do you like here for the Monday night game, Leicester Newcastle? You've got a lean for us.
Yeah, well, I like that bet. Of course, I do. So the price jump that you get from these strong favourites just to go win to 0. And that Leicester side at the moment is the absolute perfect side to attack that game because they just don't look like. Not only are they not scoring, they don't look like scoring. They had 1 shot in that game against Man City last night. That was the easiest cash of a win to 0 bet I think ever. Just didn't look anything like it. So Nigel's mentioned him already. My lean in this one is for Alexander Isak to score. I imagine he's licking his lips here, thinking he can really close the gap at the top of that Golden Boot race. He's minus 113 to score any time. I was tempted to go and do 2 or more goals for. I think it's plus 400. As a hot dog here, but I just gone with a lean. So minus 113. He scored one of the 4 goals in that reverse fixture. Obviously 20 league goals in 26 appearances this season. He's the main man, and I can't see him not scoring against this absolutely woeful Leicester side.
I'm going to throw one in there. I think I'll take Isak to score a hat-trick. I think Isak, because I'll tell you what, Haaland's out now, isn't he? So Haaland's out for the season.
18 to 1. 18 to 1.
Well, he's got to try to close the gap on Salah. And this is the game that he's got to get goals. And I think if Newcastle go 1-0 up or 2-0 up early, they could run right here. And I don't think they'll ease up like Man City, and Isak will be firing. So I think this could be embarrassing.
Let's not forget, this has got the makings. Remember what they did to Sheffield United last season? They went to Sheffield United and won 8-0, didn't they?
Yeah.
So they've got it well capable of them to go and do that.
Away the lads, my favourite team.
Newcastle is coming off the list. Leicester is going on it by the sounds of things. Right.
I don't even think any Leicester fans would be having to go at me for that.
Yeah.
Gary Lineker.
Quite quiet.
Gary Lineker, my old mate, please don't listen to me.
Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We'll keep everyone up to date via our Twitter feeds, of course. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We're going to be back next week for more. Picks Place, hot dogs, same game parlays. Hopefully we will be in profit next week. Fingers crossed, some good selections from the boys here. Don't forget, live show 11 a.m. every midweek day. Make sure you join us for plenty of fun, plenty of selections. Follow us at Because We Win. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We're inching our way to 9,000 followers. What are we now? 8,200, something like that. We'll be getting there by the end of the season. Make sure you join us on that live show. Plenty of content coming up over the course of this weekend. From all of us for now, though, it is goodbye.